President Trump is literally destroying the White House. And no, I don't mean that in a symbolic kind of way. I mean, literally, cranes are tearing the White House apart as we speak. Now, how is he able to do this? I thought the government was shut down. So who's paying for it? And is that actually the more disturbing answer? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about this stupid one. So, demolition has begun to replace the White House East Wing with Trump's ballroom. Now, this is something that Trump had previously said. He had previously said that the White House ballroom that he is building would not involve tearing down any part of the White House. Now, this is part of a goal to build an event space on White House grounds, and you could think it's a good idea or a bad idea. That's okay. I actually think it's probably not the worst thing in the world to be able to host some events on the White House. But here's what I thought was so disturbing, right? Trump's own truths say that he's announcing that ground has been broken on the White House grounds to build the new, big, beautiful White House ballroom, completely separate from the White House itself, right? The East Wing is being fully modernized as part of the process and will be more beautiful than ever when it is complete. Now, he also adds, guys, this is zero cost to the American taxpayer. It's being funded by many generous patriots, great American companies, and Trump himself. Now, this, I think, is the more disturbing part. The first is that, of course, the president, while presidents historically always get some funds from Congress to redecorate the White House a little bit, right? And that's part of it. Presidents bring in different artifacts, different art to sort of reflect their own preferences and their own symbols. It's one of the reasons why President Trump took down every picture of President Biden and replaced it with a picture of an auto pen. But what is disturbing is that the White House is not the president's personal residence. It is instead administered by the National Park Service. It's a part of the Americans' shared heritage. It's sort of like classed not unlike the Grand Canyon or Redwood National Forest, right? Or Denali Reserve or whatever it's called now. All of these things are not held. They're not the president's personal playground. They're ours, the American citizenry, right? And yeah, obviously, it doesn't mean I can go into the Resolute desk and kick up my feet, but it means that the president is a tenant of our place. And when you want to redo it, it's not unheard of. And I think that sometimes a clinging to tradition can sometimes prevent meaningful change from happening. And I think the White House should always be changed to reflect the times. And again, an event space isn't all that controversial. My problem is twofold. First, Congress has allocated no money for this, and it's Congress's responsibility to maintain the grounds and upkeep of the National Park Service. And so the president simply has said, well, I don't need Congress's approval to do this. And the Supreme Court has said, yeah, you're right. As president, you can do anything you want. And if you don't get impeached for it, then it's okay, which is not how a country should be run. Okay. But the most troubling part is that even though the government is shut down, no money is flowing anywhere, this is still being funded. And President Trump is literally just admitting, I just funded this by getting donations from people. And this is what makes this whole thing kind of insane, right? In addition to destroying a historic artifact with no permission, fine. But the destruction of the White House East Wing, problematic though it is, and the fact that it's the First Lady's offices is kind of hilarious. The more disturbing part is that it's being funded by people who just gave the president some cash. Now, you might recall that actually this platform, their CEO, YouTube, donated $25 million to this effort as part of a settlement in a lawsuit that had already been resolved. A judge had already ruled on it, and it was just sort of going to be symbolically blessed off on as completely meritless. Trump was going to lose the lawsuit. And then YouTube said, actually, wait. We've decided that we're going to pay Donald Trump, and we're going to contribute to his little nonprofit. That's going to be the way we settle this this lawsuit. And convenient though it is, right? It kept Google out of hot water with the administration. And so it's transparent that these companies are buying favor through these donations. And this slush fund has allowed the president to bypass Congress, right? Congress is the only person who should be able, per the Constitution, to spend money to fund the government. That is just how it works. There's a couple of exceptions, right? You pay 30 cents for a postage stamp, but these are also operations that are, well, approved by Congress. But Congress has never approved the creation of a national slush fund, especially one to redo national parks, however the president wants. This whole scheme is really disturbing because there's more questions here than answers. Who are the people who are designing or constructing this? Are they friends of the president? Was this bid on using a contractually, a legally binding process? Because remember, there are a bunch of rules in the federal acquisition regulations that exist, and they can be burdensome and onerous, but they also exist to prevent handing out contracts to your buddies. And so, again, if there are contracts being handed out to the president's buddies to redo this, well, there's no accountability because, again, it's in a presidential slush fund that he can use to spend on whatever he likes. And I don't know what else to tell you at this point. Like, if you think it's a good thing that the president is operating like a zero accountability slush fund, that he is collecting money from companies that either are buying favor, right? Like CBS Paramount, who made a donation. They literally gave the donation, they wrote the check, and then the next day a merger got approved. So even if the Trump administration says, guys, they were going to get approved anyway. That check they gave me the day prior had nothing to do with this. Even if you could somehow prove that true, the concern is that now every other company in the free market believes that if you want to get your merger approved, you've got to write a check to the president's slush fund. And do you see how that is corrupting, right? If you're a shareholder in private companies, maybe you own some ETFs or you like to pick companies, right? I have a tiny stock portfolio. And if the companies that I invest in, their leadership comes to believe that they need to spend money not investing in a better product, but in the best use of their money is to bribe the government, then what you have is a less competitive marketplace. You have a place where you're not innovating, where you're not lowering prices, where you're not delivering a better product at a competitive price, where your actual path to economic dominance, market dominance, is through bribes and slush funds and currying favor with the government. You've eroded a really important principle of the free market. You've replaced a true free market that's the thing that's responsible for the U.S. economy. Despite having literally 1/3 of the population of China, we have an economy that is almost 30% larger because we have this free market that just drives innovation and production. You've replaced it with state capitalism, the Chinese method, where the best companies aren't the ones making the best products, right? The Chinese, of course, steal that part from American companies through espionage, but instead, Chinese companies thrive because of how close they are to the ruling Communist Party. And in case you didn't know, there's not a lot of Americans that are clamoring to live and work in wealthy China because, well, there's not that much wealth to go around. So again, this isn't like this would be something that would be a scandal for any other president. Like if Joe Biden had opened up a slush fund that corporations poured money into so he could embark on vanity projects, like he would have been fucking run out of the country. His ass would be in jail. But somehow we all are just like, wow, a slush fund, cool, bro. Like somehow we just put on blinders. They are like, this is fine and cool. Destroying the White House, literally destroying the White House without like congressional approval. It's just, that's fine. That's how America works. It's not. It's not how America works. It's not how this is supposed to go. None of this is okay. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, hit subscribe and become a member at combatvetnews.com if you want to support me. Obviously, sponsors are just beating down my door to put their ads along these takes, right? But Sergey Zinchenko, Alan Knutson, Alfred Chesky, Jeff Davies, Francis Karius, Thomas Anderson, Eugenia Cuesta, you guys are the OGs. The link's in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.